Jolie DeCleva with us. She is a platinum in doTERRA. She's been sharing the oils for over 5 years. She's extremely educated. She has a master's in public health, has had a rich history in teaching others, including her own family of 5, which she has homeschooled on their farm here in Fort Collins. Who said wow? That deserves a wow, right?
Yes, exactly.
Incredible. So
everyone's alive and healthy. Alive and healthy.
They're all alive and healthy, and right now she's in the middle of planning a wedding for her firstborn, which is really exciting.
Yep.
So let's give Jolie a huge round of applause.
All right, thank you for coming. I can imagine that when you saw the topic of oral health, you were wondering, I don't know if I want to go that night. I'm not sure how exciting that's going to be. But I'm hoping that you get a lot out of this. I read a fascinating book called The Dental Diet. Don't worry, we're not talking about dieting tonight. But this book challenged me to think about dental health in a whole new way. And I love to be challenged. So I'm going to challenge you tonight to think about how you're caring for your body and your teeth, and the relationship between what you're eating and how you're treating your mouth is affecting the rest of your body. So we'll start with, well, first of all, let me give you a little outline. We're going to talk about what a tooth is. So you have your little handout there and just the different parts of the teeth. And then we're going to talk about what your teeth need to thrive, to be healthy. And then the relationship between how we're eating affects our body and our teeth all at the same time. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with what we can do better, and also how our doTERRA wellness lifestyle is actually really benefiting our teeth. So a lot of the things that you guys are probably already doing is very beneficial for our dental health and our whole overall health, okay? So you have a good start. Have you ever noticed that dentistry seems to be this completely separate field from the medical field? Like, they don't really cross, they don't really talk to each other. You have an oral surgeon, but you would never go to the oral surgeon for your knee surgery. Like, it's very specialized, it's very separate. And that's pretty unfortunate, because most of our chronic diseases are actually discovered in the mouth first. And so these dentists aren't necessarily trained to pick that up, and we're hoping to change that as the relationship between dental health and autoimmune disorders and diabetes and heart disease becomes more scientifically clear, okay? So if you're like me, my dentist would talk to me about flossing and brushing and tell me not to eat a ton of sugar. Is that about what you've gotten to? So I've never heard my dentist say anything else about food. Maybe that I stained my teeth because I drank too much wine. You know, maybe that was another, or coffee or tea, right? Other than that, we really don't get much information from our dentists. And currently, all across the world, we have an epidemic of chronic disease. And this year, 40 million people will die of a chronic disease across the world. So this is a huge issue, and we know that chronic diseases are increasing. They just seem like we have more and more diseases, and more people are getting fibromyalgia and Crohn's disease, and everyone is sick. It just feels like. So cavities are so common. 90% of our children during the school age years will get dental cavities, that we've kind of accepted them as normal, right? We don't worry about them much, but what I want to challenge you is to think about a cavity very differently, that it's actually telling your body, telling you something about your body that's out of balance, okay? Let's start with our picture of a tooth. And sometimes when you think of a tooth, you think of it just as being this hard, inanimate thing. But we actually know that there's something underneath there that's not so hard, and that's very tender and very delicate and very important. And so let's start with that outside hard layer. That's called the enamel. And the enamel is thick it is inanimate, so it doesn't have its own blood flow to it. It doesn't have its own immune system. It is actually, by the time a child is full grown, it's the hardest substance in your body. And it can take an incredible amount of force. It takes a lot of tension, and it's exposed to everything we eat and all the sugars and all the bacteria and everything, and we expect it to be pearly white all at the same time, right? The thing about the enamel is that because it does not have blood flow to it directly, then when it gets damaged, it cannot regenerate itself. So that is a problem in that we need to take care of the enamel. We need to make sure the enamel is not being broken down. If the enamel gets damaged, then it exposes the underlayer, which is the dentin. So that's that other part there. The dentin is an insulation between the enamel and the inside tender pulp. And the dentin is like a battleground. So it's constantly trying to protect the pulp from whatever might get to it. So if there's a crack in the enamel, that dentin has to work really, really hard to keep the pulp safe, okay? There's constant chaos in your mouth, so the bacteria, the acids, everything that you're eating is constantly changing, and so it's the job of the dentin to keep things in balance, all right? You probably have heard that long bones in your body create osteoblasts and osteoclasts. Those are the bone-making cells, and they also break down bones to recreate, stronger ones. And our teeth have the same things. So they're odontoblasts, and those are what build up our teeth. And those odontoblasts also have a very important job of protecting the dentin. Okay, so they're sort of like the SWAT team in our mouth. Let's see, the odontoblasts are also really, their job is to help with the microbe buildup. So if there's a lot of microbes that are going on, they have to do a counterattack and figure out how to settle that balance in the mouth. Let's talk about the pulp now, which is the vascular part of the tooth. It also is where the nerves and blood supply go through. And it takes a perfect balance to make sure that tooth is completely getting the nutrition and to stay strong. Okay? So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about what the tooth needs to stay strong. So we've all heard of vitamin D. Vitamin D is this incredible super vitamin that we can get from the sun, but unfortunately when it's really cold, today was beautiful, but when it's really chilly out, we don't get nearly as much sun, and a lot of times we're sedentary. Even when it's beautiful out, we stay inside and we don't make enough vitamin D. Okay? You can get it from your food as well. What vitamin D does is it helps keep the bones healthy and strong. It's really important for your immune system. And it tells your stem cells whether that cell is going to be a bone cell or whether it's going to be an immune cell, or it differentiates the cells. So vitamin D actually is part of 2,000 different processes that happen in your body. It's very essential to your overall health. Specifically with your teeth, low vitamin D is associated with deteriorating dentin. Okay, so that protective layer isn't as strong when we don't have vitamin D. Okay. It's also, low vitamin D is also associated with obesity, Crohn's disease, colitis, all kinds of celiac disease and so forth, irritable bowel. So when you think about vitamin D, you can think of it like a delivery truck filled with cement, and the cement is the calcium. So the vitamin D is going to deliver this to where it's needed in the mouth. Let's talk just a little bit about calcium. Calcium, we know, contracts muscles, and we know that it helps build bones and teeth. There's a great paradox about calcium, however. Have you ever had to have calcium scraped off your teeth? Calcified plaque, right? So while our teeth really need calcium, we can also have calcium deposited where it's not supposed to go. And we'll talk about that just in a little bit. But dentists spend a lot of time scraping off calcifications, and that's a sign that you're missing the next vital nutrient, which is K2. So vitamin K2 is, it comes from grass. So animals that eat grass will take up K1 and then it'll be converted into K2 when we eat that animal. And this is a really compelling reason why we need to eat grass-fed beef and why hunting, a fresh kill like venison, and those are an excellent source of K2 because they've been eating naturally their whole lives, right? Even our dairy with our eggs, or dairy and our milk, we want to make sure that those cows are eating grass, and for our eggs that our chickens are eating their natural food. So the epigenetics of the food we eat will also affect our vitamin K, and that's really important. So without K2, the calcium can deposit not in the right spot. So remember how we talked about the calcium sort of drips down and it's like in the wrong spot? That's because someone is missing K2 or doesn't have enough K2 in their body. And this can be very, very serious. For example, calcium can be deposited in the soft tissue in your body. And if you know of anyone with a deviated septum, that's almost always what's happened, is the calcium is deposited in the wrong spot. Someone with atherosclerosis can have calcium deposited in their arteries, and that is one of the reasons why poor dental health is an indicator of heart disease, okay? All right. K2 is used to form and strengthen bones by activating something called osteocalcin. And this, when combined with proteins, they're considered like the workers. Okay, so if we have the vitamin D is the delivery truck and calcium is the cement, then the K2 and the osteocalcin are the workers. Okay, so they're all working together to make these strong teeth. Calcium buildup in your mouth, that plaque, is an indicator that you don't have enough, you're not getting enough K2. The next vitamin there is vitamin A. And vitamin A, you probably know this already, is important for eyesight. It's also very important for fetal development. And it helps with teeth and bone formation, and it's really an important part of the process of keeping your immune system healthy. All the moist membranes in your body, your mouth, your intestines, your nose, are kept moist because of vitamin A, okay? So if you have really dry membranes, you might be lacking that, okay? Cod liver oil is the best source of vitamin A. It actually is a good source of vitamin K2 and vitamin D as well. Salmon, eggs, pork, all of those have a lot of vitamin A. And when you think about vitamin A, you can think about the scaffolding around the tooth, okay? Kind of holding it together and creating some support. So to review, the vitamin D is the truck, the calcium is the cement, the osteocalcin and proteins are like quality control, kind of saying, hey, there's a crack here, go over there, okay, there's a crack here, work here. And the K2 is directing the calcium right where it needs to go to make sure that it sticks and goes exactly where it's supposed to go. So all of those things are very important to work together to create strong teeth. The standard American diet is simply not giving us enough nutrition to meet all of these needs for healthy teeth. And so we need to consider changing what we're eating. So I said we weren't going to talk about a diet, but we sort of are, because nutrition relates to everything. When you think about processed foods, most processed foods are man-made. They've been made in a lab. They have very few nutrients left. And also an important thing about processed foods is they're almost always soft. And one of the things that helps stimulate strong enamel and healthy teeth coming in for children, and even your wisdom teeth coming in properly, which is a whole nother thing he talks about, that we've kind of accepted this crazy surgery for everyone that he feels like is unnecessary if we ate a different way. But natural foods, like raw foods, they take a lot of work to eat a carrot, to eat celery, to eat meat off the bone, and it stimulates our teeth to be well, right? And so when we don't stimulate our teeth that way, with processed foods, not only are they completely devoid of nutrition, but they are not giving our teeth that good. I mean, even if you buy a peanut, nuts are supposed to be hard. By the time you get a peanut, it's sort of soft, it's already kind of rotting. You know what I'm talking about? Like even our nuts aren't hard like they should be. Okay. So hopefully you're getting the picture that no matter how hard you're working on the outside of your teeth, brushing and flossing, you could still have dental disease. Can you see? If you're lacking those nutrition. And maybe you're wondering right now about sugar. What role does sugar play in all of this? So we do know that sugar plus the natural bacteria that is in your mouth creates an acid. And the acid on your teeth creates a counterattack from your body, okay? And as long as things stay in balance there, we're okay. But unfortunately what happens is we eat a lot of sugar, and our counterbalance is not strong enough to overcome the mass amounts of sugar, and so we get an imbalance in our mouths. And it is important to note that it's not the sugar and it's not the white flour that are causing the cavities. It's the imbalance in the mouth that are causing the cavities, okay? So that makes me want to talk to you a little bit more about bacteria. We all know we have bacteria in our mouth, and we all know we have bacteria in our gut, but do you realize that the bacteria in your mouth in one swallow is in your gut? Right? They're all related, right? They don't just stay in your mouth. And the bacteria in your gut affect every single system in your body, okay? So if you're out of balance here, you're out of balance down here. So that's really important because we go back to the enamel, and we look at that hard coating of the tooth. We know that it's inanimate, and it doesn't have an immune system, but it does have thousands of different bacteria flushing over it at all times, kind of keeping it safe, roaming around. And those microbes are crawling through every hole, and they have a big job to alert the dentin if anything is off, okay? So those odontoblasts, do you remember what those were? They're the ones that create new bone cells. They are there to protect because that state of the enamel is constantly in flux. Those odontoblasts are on high alert all the time. So what happens when that bacteria gets out of balance? What's happening to the bacteria in your mouth with those odontoblasts? What do you think? They're overwhelmed. They just aren't meant to do that job all the time. So when we have an overrunning, there's actually two types of bacteria. There's a fast-growing and a slow-growing bacteria. And when you take sugar in, then it basically puts your bacteria in your mouth in a feeding frenzy. It gets turned on, and all these things happen really quick, and your body is trying to fight this sugar. And like I was saying, there is some calcium already in your mouth naturally, and so we're trying to do this counterattack, and as long as everything stays in balance, we're okay. But what typically happens is that all those sugars create an imbalance of those fast-growing bacteria, and then those move to the gut. So let's talk about the gut for a little bit. The gut's job is to transport nutrients back and forth and all over the body, to digest. Its job is to absorb. Its job is to filter any contaminants like heavy metals. And the entire digestive tract is lined with what's called epithelial cells. And these epithelial cells, along with a rainforest amount of viruses, bacteria, fungi, and other microbes, form this protective barrier to make sure that nothing else gets past the epithelial and into the rest of your body, right? That it stays in the tube of your digestive tract, okay? So it's a very complex system at work. But what happens is that, you guys know that 80% of your immune system is in your digestive tract. You guys have heard that? Well, the gut itself, the intestines, are actually the biggest organ that produces those immune cells. When that gut communicates with the rest of the body, if you are not eating enough fiber, then things aren't moving through and getting out. So the toxins are building up. And remember, all those overflow of fast bacteria are starting to build up, and we're not helping our body because we're not eating raw foods, we're not eating roughage, we're not eating the salads and all those good things that we need to keep things through. So what happens is our gut becomes very out of balance. And inflamed, yeah. If this goes on for some time, then you will get what's called leaky gut, where that bacteria barrier is no longer healthy and can't hold back. And so this really yucky sludge, sort of half digested, not quite absorbed, can leak into your body. So that's a whole problem on itself. But even if you don't have leaky gut, once you have that imbalance in your gut, it's really suppressed your immune system's ability to work effectively. And so when you have inflammation in your hands or something else going on in your body may not be able to address it properly because it's dealing with this imbalance. And so those inflammations can multiply over time, and you can get something like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue. Our body's just not fighting. Our system's just not working together, okay? Some medications like aspirin, ibuprofen, other anti-inflammatories, they are very, very hard on the lining of your gut, okay? So we're like doing a negative by taking those. We're really having our body work really hard, and the worst really is antibiotics. It's like a bomb going off in your gut where the good and the bad are gone, and the wall is completely defenseless. So antibiotics should be avoided at all costs if possible, should only be used very sparingly. So we talked about consuming dietary fiber, how that can be really helpful. Our poor nutrition in our diets are creating this bacterial imbalance. And I don't know, what do you think are some things that you could be doing that could help your balance? Has anyone heard of intermittent fasting? Yeah, so intermittent fasting is when you let your body rest after eating for a full 14 hours. And what they've found is that by letting your gut rest during that time, that it actually helps your body heal itself and helps that flora in your gut to improve. What are some other things that you could do? Probiotics, yes. So there's prebiotics and there's probiotics, and those both work together. And doTERRA has a great one in PB Assist. And so we'll talk about that at the end, but definitely probiotics are a protective factor for your gut. Are probiotics going to prevent dental cavities? What caused the breakdown of those teeth? What's that?
Fast-growing bacteria.
fast-growing bacteria, and what made them vulnerable when they didn't have the vitamins, right? So even if we're taking a probiotic and we're brushing our teeth and flossing, we can still have dental disease, right? And doesn't it bother you how some people don't seem to take care of their teeth, but they never get a cavity? And someone else will be so diligent and amazing, and they get cavities all the time, right? That's why, because it all goes back to what we're putting in our mouth and what we're eating, okay? So early signs of autoimmune disease happen in our mouth. Like we see sores, we see white, we see plaque, we see things that are going on there. Oh, let's back up. So we said intermittent fasting can help with getting that gut restored. Probiotics, exercise helps to move things through. So that can help with the balance of your gut. Getting good sleep, because when you're sleeping well, then your body is having that recovery time. And if you're not sleeping well and you're not getting that, those bacteria can build up and not be taken care of naturally through our body. Do you think of anything else?
Yoga.
Yeah, relaxing, right? So that's really keeping your stress low is an important factor in your gut health. Because when you're stressed, those bacteria can get out of balance, right? And our immune system is constantly trying to work on the most important issue first. And our body thinks, when you're in fight or flight, our body thinks that that's the most important issue, right? And so then the other things that it should be fighting are being put aside, okay? So I want to challenge you to start thinking about your mouth as like a gatekeeper, okay? So your mouth protects the rest of your body from things it shouldn't have, and it also can give your body things that it needs. And so instead of eating out of convenience or, oh, that tastes good, questioning and saying, what does my body need? What can I eat to provide myself with all these nutrients that my body needs? And not because you have to, not because it's a diet, but just because it's a decision to take care of yourself, right? Fermented food, by the way, is a really great way to help the bacteria in your gut. And I don't love fermented food, but I just learned that pickling, and I do like pickles, that's even helpful. Having a high fiber diet is really important. And another thing that we didn't mention is exposure to dirt. Okay, so what I mean by that is that people who have pets and people who are, grounding and, their feet are in the dirt, their hands are in the dirt when they garden, and they don't live in a super sterile environment, which I don't need to worry about because I live on a farm and I have 5 kids, that they actually have a healthier flora because they're exposed to more of a diverse gut, okay? And keeping your house super, super clean is actually not good for your gut. Isn't that good? That's such a relief. Yeah. So maybe you're one of these people that think, well, I just am out of luck because genetically I have bad teeth, okay? And this might be you. You might think, man, I'm just doomed because my teeth are in terrible shape because my mom's teeth and my grandma's teeth and everyone's teeth in my family are terrible. Well, the good news is that through the Genome Project, 2008, when this whole new science of epigenetics is exploding, what we've learned is that our DNA is actually more of a blueprint. It's not a set in stone, this is what's going to happen to your health, but what we eat actually activates certain proteins to tell our body how to live that out in our systems. And so what they are estimating is that you have control over 80% of your genetic code. That only 20% is determined and can't be changed. So that should be a relief to you. It also puts the responsibility right here, right? I'm gonna decide exactly how healthy I'm gonna be and how all the things that I'm willing to do to stay well. And it's not my mom's fault, and it's not, right? It's no one's fault, okay? All right, so we talked about how our unnatural processed food diets are one of the reasons why our dental cavity rate's going up. Did you know that 70% of the food that people eat is processed? 70%. This is an American statistic. And when you think about processed food, we know that corn is genetically modified. We know that things are sprayed. We know that things are, our meat is has antibiotics and other things in it, right? So the epigenetics of our food is even important, where it's coming from. If you're raising it, or if you're getting it from an organic farm, or you're getting grass-fed beef, all of that plays into the health of our teeth and our body. And I don't know about you guys, but my family thinks organic, okay, we'll let mom do her little organic thing and we'll eat it, okay, but it's not that big a deal. It is a big deal. It's a really big deal. We are, as a country, basically starving the bacteria in our mouth that needs balance. Like, we're not giving our body all those nutrition that we need, and so we know exactly what causes it, we know exactly what to do to prevent it, and we're choosing to be sick, right? So hopefully now you guys have a little bit more education and you can think about, do I want to choose that? I do have a lot of control over my health here. The sugar we eat, a little bit of sugar, I'm all for it, but we really can poison ourselves. We can really affect our immune system long term. For what? For a frosted sugar cookie, right? Times 100. I don't know, they're really tempting. So considering, the things that we're dealing with as a society now is dairy is generally a really healthy food with all this amazing positive bacteria for us, but now all of our dairy is pasteurized, right? So we kill that good bacteria. Oil, like lard and olive oil and coconut oil, those are really good for us, and we need that saturated fat. But what do we do as a society? We eat hydrogenated canola oil and these made-up oils. I mean, what's a canola? I don't know. But anyway, we eat this fake food, right? That isn't really food, and we accept it as food, and we don't have to. It's all for convenience. It's all made to make money and to be packaged, and we need to start thinking about eating differently to be that gatekeeper and watching what's going through and not letting any of that stuff get in there, okay? So if we talk about, this book, if you're interested in this topic, I strongly recommend it. There's so many things that I don't have time to cover. But one of the things that, and this is on the top of your sheet, I did write this title. But one of the things he talks about that's really interesting is how eating those hard foods actually helps set your jaw and help your breathing pathways. And he says it's not too late to improve on that. So if you have some breathing problems, he suggests doing deep breathing every day and training yourself to breathe through your nose, okay? So you know how to do abdominal breathing. Let's all go ahead and put your hand on your abdomen, down low. Sit up straight so that when you breathe in, yes, your tummy's gonna go out. Okay, so that is a suggested exercise. I mean, breathing's so good for us anyway. It calms us down, it's relaxing, it's wonderful for stress. But breathing is one way that you can help with your airways. The other thing that he talks about is putting your tongue pressure on the top of your mouth. So you're just take your flat tongue and put it right on the top of your mouth. So you're pushing up. I can't tell if you're doing it. Anyway, you want to get to the point where you can hold it for like 3 minutes, where you're just putting pressure up. And what that does is it increases the blood flow, but it also flattens your palate, which helps your teeth settle and kind of set better, okay? And your teeth are not set, they are malleable, so you can still affect that's why we can get braces as an adult too, right? Our mouth can change. So he talks a lot about that. So when we talk about improving our dental health, one of the things we can do is our breathing and our mouth exercises. And we can eat crunchy foods, right? Foods that are hard to chew, like beef jerky and things like that really require our jaws to be stimulated. My kids love that when I said that. They're like, we'll eat beef jerky. I don't buy that because it's expensive, but I guess I need to get over it.
Make it.
Oh,
Make it.
You live on a farm.
I need to make it.
We should have, like, when we do the roterra, we should have the guys show how to do beef jerky, because most of our husbands make it.
Yeah, we've never made, my husband's here and he does some mean chicken slaughtering and we raise lambs and stuff, but we've never made beef jerky before. All right, we need to give our mouths those nutrients that we need. We need calcium, we need vitamin A, we need vitamin D, we need K2. Those are essential, right? We need to keep our microbiome in balance. So those prebiotics, those probiotics, the fiber, and keeping our sugar low. And then eating foods with a healthy epigenetic message is another thing you can do. So the last thing I want to talk about is how our amazing doTERRA lifestyles are helping us. Okay, so if you are living this doTERRA lifestyle where every day you're thinking, how can I be a little bit healthier today? You are in the right place. Like, this is what we're doing here, right? So the lifelong vitality vitamins that doTERRA has, not surprising, has a perfect amount of vitamin K, vitamin D, vitamin A, and calcium. They're excellent. So it is preferred that you get your vitamins from your food, right? We want to eat well. And one of the reasons that I took a while to get started on the lifelong vitality vitamins when I first started with doTERRA is because I learned about a bunch of studies about moms that gave their kids vitamins. They actually fed them less healthy. They sort of had this sort of thing in their mind like, oh, it's been covered, right? So we need to be really careful that we don't do that with our vitamins, that our vitamins are awesome and we're taking them faithfully, but that we're also eating really well. Does that make sense? Okay. And then, of course, doTERRA has an incredible probiotic PB Assist, and that should just be taken twice a day by everybody. Once in the morning, once at night. It's just needed. We just need to keep on top of that bacteria, just keep our immune system healthy. We already, in doTERRA, avoid medicine, right? We're using our oils instead of using a lot of pharmaceuticals. And that helps us because remember, those medicines can mess with the gut lining. So keep that up, learn. You know, as something comes up, like you get a cold sore, well, look it up and figure out what do I need to do for a cold sore instead of running to the pharmacist. And just slowly start getting in the routine of using your oils for everything, right? And then we also, with our doTERRA lifestyle, we're pretty low tox, right? We use the shampoo, doTERRA shampoo. Hopefully you use a good low toxin makeup, you know, our lotions, our creams. There are tons of toxins in all those things, and we need to make wise choices. And as a group, we do really well at that, right? So the doTERRA toothpaste and mouthwash, these are excellent resources to keep your mouth healthy, but are they going to be enough if you're lacking vitamin E, K, D? No, they're not. But what they do is that because there's On Guard in it, it helps manage the bacteria in your mouth by killing the bad bacteria and keeping the good bacteria. And then there's also a pH that goes way into the pH of your mouth in the book, but there's a pH issue that if your pH drops below a certain amount, you're more likely to have cavities and bad things happen. And when you use the mouthwash, that's keeping your pH in a healthy range. So those are great products, and I'm not telling you not to brush your teeth, but hopefully I've made the case that brushing your teeth and flossing alone are not what's going to keep your teeth healthy, right? We need to change. The culprit is our diet, right? Our bad diet is what's making us sick, but that's also the solution. So, thank you.
Thank you.